All right. We are live on a very special edition of Between the Links on the Loudmouth MMA Podcast Network and streaming live right now on the Loudmouth MMA YouTube page. My name is Mike Heck. I'm your host. And for those who watch and or listen to this show on a regular basis, this is going to be a little bit of a different type of show. There's so much happening right now, not just in MMA, but the world with COVID-19, the coronavirus spreading and just causing a lot of harm and a lot of havoc. And with everything changing so rapidly, we felt there really wasn't a need to have a bunch of established questions, but more, let's just shoot the breeze and see where it goes, whether it leads to a heated debate or a discussion. We're just going to see where this all goes. But in terms of points and eliminations and all, we figured let's just throw all that out the window tonight and let's just hang out and talk the big stories, the sport of MMA, where it may be heading over the next few weeks, maybe several months, and so forth and so on. So let us introduce the panel and cohorts this week. First, we have Mr. Keith Schillen, my fellow New Englander. How is it going, man? What is the vibe like in Rhode Island right now?
Well, yeah, man, it's tough here. It's tough everywhere. I mean, last week I was so excited. I was covering Bellator. I was there Wednesday. I was there Thursday. And then all of a sudden they tell us Thursday night that it's going to be closed to the public. Then they tell us Friday it's going to be closed to the media. Then they tell us an hour or 2 hours before it's canceled altogether. So, yeah, man, I'm really disappointed. But I'm finally excited about one thing, MMA, because what happens tonight I'm finally excited about.
I know. I am excited, too. As you can see, he's already pacing around. He's finding his chi, so to speak. We have Craig Allen here. Craig, I'm sure Canada is quite chaotic as well, as is most of the world. How are you, sir?
Yeah, I mean, they shut down the border to everybody but Americans. So, yeah, it's wild times up here, but nobody cares about what I have to say. They want to see what's under that hood. And not in a racist way.
Oh, I'm so excited right now, but it's the main event, so we have to introduce our special guest first, because I felt this week we had to get him on the show as the special guest. He's been on this panel many times before. He's one of our favorites, and when we need a shot of positivity, there's only one man to call from MMAfighting.com, Mr. Alex K. Lee. How are you, sir?
Oh, we were talking about me. I was like, who's the special? I was like, where's the special guest? Oh, it is I. I'm doing great, man. I'm doing great. What a crazy 48, 72, 96 hours it's been for us news-wise. But, I mean, I'm ready to talk about whatever we still can talk about.
And, folks, I know why a lot of you are watching right now. We're going to get to that moment everybody's waiting for since UFC Brasilia on Saturday evening in just a moment. Now, if you missed last week's show or you haven't seen the clip on social media, here's sort of the skinny. Last week, this man, who I'm about to introduce, said into a live microphone that there's no way that the fight between Johnny Walker and Nikita Krylov was going to go the full 15 minutes and go to a decision. Just no way that is going to happen. In fact, he was so confident in that notion that he was willing to let the panel pick his proverbial poison if it did go the full 15 minutes. And the great John Franklin came up with the idea that the penalty would be for Davidson Baker to cut his hair, to shave his head, like the legendary Larry David from Curb Your Enthusiasm from Seinfeld. You may have seen him on SNL doing the Bernie Sanders impression. And as you know, the fight did not go to a decision. And before he introduced Davidson Baker, I have to play this clip from the great John Franklin because I feel like he spoke for all of us on Saturday night.
Seconds! We need the world. 15 seconds!
I didn't even know he did this.
I'm so happy. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It goes the distance. Yes!
I didn't even know he did this. This is awesome. We were talking about it in our chat.
God. Davidson Baker has to cut his hair like Larry David.
Oh, this is great. I didn't know he did a video.
It's so good.
We were going crazy in our chat. We were going crazy. We were counting down. I was like doing 10, 9, 7 seconds. I didn't know that he made a video. That's fantastic.
Oh, man. So with that, Davidson Baker is here. How are you, sir?
I'm doing fine, Mike. How are you?
I'm doing great. So before we do the big reveal here, I have to ask, we heard what John made of those 15 minutes. What were those 15 minutes like for you on Saturday watching Walker and Krylov? Like, when did you start to say to yourself? The moment
Krylov took him down in the first round, in the very first round, like with plenty of time left to go, with all of, and I'm going to get into the nuances of just how frustrating this is obviously, when we talk about it. However, I was so confident still, like sitting back, like I had nothing to worry about up until I kind of figured out right at the beginning of the first round, oh, okay, this is going to be Krylov's game plan. And he's going to be trying to pressure him and get as close as he possibly can to him in order to either push him up against the fence or take him down the whole fight. That was exactly what his game plan was. And when I figured out that that was what his game plan was right off the bat, I was like, I could be in trouble here. And so, yeah, great. Here we are.
How was your family? How did your family react to this?
Negatively from my vantage point, because they
disowned him. They
like
disowned him. What family? They disowned him.
All right.
No. Why would they disown me when they can when they can have this come to fruition at their enjoyment and entertainment? Like, they are entertained. They are more than entertained.
Oh my God, I'm so excited right now. John Franklin says this is everything. So with that being said, people are watching right now. They're like, when the hell are you going to do this reveal?
We should do it at the end. We should do it, make them watch the whole episode. That's what we should do.
I know. He's got it. But here's the thing. You have, once you pop the hood, it's got to stay off. You got to do this whole show.
Oh, I mean, like, are you serious?
Yes. Yes. With that being said, Davidson, I hope this doesn't get us kicked off. But
let's do a countdown, like a 10.
No, let's not do a countdown. I'll just go ahead and do it. Here we go.
All right, 5. Here we go. Let me just
Oh my.
Oh my God.
Hey, bro. Hey.
No, he's a man of his word. He's a man. Davidson looked like he gained like 40 years overnight.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, I'm crying.
I don't know if I'll ever be able to live this down.
Oh my Lord! Someone, can we
New Twitter profile?
Can we bring him a big? There you go. Someone
Can we screenshot this and get this out there?
Somebody
screenshot this, please.
Got him.
Yeah, he looked like he aged 40 years in 1 week.
Oh, the comments are coming in. Holy shit.
I want to know if
he looks 70. John Franklin said this is better than the birth of my kids. Oh my God. And then John closes the fridge door at this hip. I don't know what that means, but who cares? This is amazing. Wow. Davidson, kudos to you, my man. Well done.
I appreciate it. Once this is over, it's immediately going to full buzz. It's more so bald than buzz, though.
Davidson, can you turn to the left and right? I'm sorry. Can we see the panels? There we go. Oh wow. There it is.
Yeah, show us the whole thing. Let's see the back.
A little, yeah. Oh wow. Oh, the top view. Oh my. Okay. Okay, that's enough. That's enough.
Whoever cut his hair, nice job on whoever cut his hair.
I told you that it would be the full shebang.
I want to see if we can get Craig to make a bet this week.
Not a chance.
Let's bet on Cage Warriors. Come on.
I'm just saying, man. Like, I'm just saying, though, man. Like, I will have my revenge.
Oh, man. I'm so excited
on who though? On Krylov? On Johnny Walker? It's their fault.
No, on this program. Someone will have to step to the plate eventually.
Yeah, that's fair.
All right. Well, I don't know how we're gonna keep this thing going, but let's talk some MMA right now. And by the way, as you're watching, we're opening up the show to you as well. We're flowing with this whole thing. So if you have questions, you have comments, anything you want us to get to, let us know in the comments section. But I feel like we need to discuss what is going on in the sport as it relates to the coronavirus. All the major sports organizations have canceled their events for the indefinite future here. And MMA and combat sports, Bellator put the kibosh on their show hours before it was supposed to kick off. UFC moved forward with theirs in Brasilia in an empty arena. No fans in attendance. It was a very interesting to watch from a fan and a media perspective. But as you all know by now, Dana White tried to keep this train moving. He tried to move this Saturday's UFC London event. He tried to move the Columbus and Portland events to Vegas at the Apex. UFC 249 is still up in the air, but the next 3 events are off the table. But Davidson, because I just can't stop looking at you, buddy, we're going to start with you here. There's sort of been two different camps here. Like, one is, this is absolutely bananas that Dana and the UFC are even thinking about putting on events. And then there's the other side that's like, it's not really a great idea, but we need to carry on with some semblance of normalcy. And I'll be honest, as much as I thought,
I understand that.
Put the hoodie down. Put the hoodie down.
Semblance of normalcy.
Put the hoodie down.
Seriously,
nobody could say anything to me right now because they're not, not used to being bald, and now looks like this. Like I'm going to continue. I'm going to flash the mug. I'm going to show it off, but I'm not going to keep my dome exposed.
Come on, dude, your ratings. This is ratings.
Davidson, you've never been more popular.
For the this is your coming out party, bro.
Yeah, none of you guys know what it's like at this point in time.
I know what it's like.
You can listen to Behind Blue Eyes when you're alone by yourself, but save your crying for them.
Mike looks like Lex Luger.
Craig put a screenshot out there, so if anyone needs to see it, it is on Craig's Twitter right now, and it will be his new Twitter banner going forward. So don't worry about it. You will see it.
All right, Davidson, seriously, Davidson, like what side of the fence are you on? And I guess my question is, how would you grade the way the UFC and Dana White in particular has handled this coronavirus situation?
Irresponsibly at first, and completely and totally irresponsibly. I was not a fan of the fact that even if they were coming into my hood soon, I mean, I wouldn't have any, way of getting in there anyway. I don't really want to leave my house. I haven't been going to work the past few days. I mean, there's a few confirmed cases in my area. It's an incredibly irresponsible tone and an incredibly irresponsible look, as far as I'm concerned, until they eventually had to bite the bullet today and go with, what Trump had said about no more than 10 people in a room. Until that order comes down, they're still trying to roll this thing. But I don't know. At this point, they were kind of dealt their own hand, or their hand was kind of forced. But I mean, irresponsible and disappointing, at least from my vantage point.
Alex, what do you think? How would you grade the way the UFC has handled all of this?
Boy, it's rough, man. I mean, look, I totally understand the fan perspective. I received a lovely message, something to the effect of, we're all going to effing die anyway. Just let me enjoy my fights before that happens. And I'm like, I can't argue with that logic. I totally understand why fans want a distraction, and kind of how cool, I guess it seems, for the UFC to be the only game in town, and what a badass Dana White is. But boy, I mean, it's just so much posturing. And the Brasilia event, you can almost I feel like it should have been canceled, but you can understand it going forward. Everyone's there, they'd all wait in and all that business. But for all this posturing around the London event and then the other 2 events that were announced today as being postponed, it's absurd. It's absurd. It's so disrespectful to the fighters. I know a lot of them say, hey, we want to fight. We want these cards to go on, but it's really the responsibility of people like Dana White and the UFC and officials to take that out of their hands. And also, I would hope, take care of them financially, but that is still pending. So obviously I'm glad that the events are postponed, and it's unfortunate for whoever's affected by it, though.
Keith, I know you've seen on social media the fighters, they want to fight, and I think we all know why they want to fight, right? Like the UFC, they're trying to get their guys and gals fights and trying to give the fans something to watch. At least that's like the stance they're trying to take, but we all know why the fighters actually want to fight at this point. But I guess I see that argument from a fighter perspective, but how would you say that the organization itself, how they handle this from your perspective?
Yeah, I think it was very poor on their part. Now, yeah, obviously the fighters want to fight because that's the only way they're going to get paid. And if you've just put up money to run a camp and whatnot, if you're a guy like, say, Darren Stewart, who doesn't, he's not making Conor McGregor or Habib money. So he's living fight by fight, as we say, paycheck by paycheck. He's living fight by fight. He gets paid 3 times a year, maybe. So I understand where he's coming from the UFC. The word I thought of is selfish. They just seem like they cared more about making money off an event, making ratings. I mean, look at what ESPN did. They actually moved the card up a couple hours so they can get even more prime time for them, being that college basketball was not showing and NBA and all these other sports, where the only sport last week was the UFC. I mean, for the most part, other than I know there was like a soccer game somewhere and a boxing match somewhere, but for a major sport, the only thing was the UFC. So to risk your fighter's health is really bad to make money. Now we've always had these terrible things about UFC and their relationship with fighters. You know, you got someone like Leslie Smith who's made a big fuss about the treatment of the athletes. And if you want a perfect example is this one, what sport, you know, the big thing about right now is they're saying try to limit contact with each other. Like, you know, I went to church like 2 weeks ago before this was even a big deal. And it was like, all right, we're not going to handshake. We're going to like elbow and we're going to try to like not touch each other. What sport has more contact than MMA? Like this should have been the first sport to say, we're not going to, you know, do shows. And the fact that they, not only did they have shows canceled, they had the cities cancel it. Then they tried moving it and do everything. It just really, really bad. And then I understand why fighters want to fight. I mean, look at the basketball players. Look at Zion Williams. He's paying for the employees of the arena. Well, that's because they're in a situation where they can sit out and have millions of dollars in the bank, and they have guaranteed contracts. LeBron James is still getting paid, and they're making millions. Well, Darren Stewart's not. So I think that reflects poor on the UFC too. The fact that fighters have to risk their own health, besides the risking their health of possibly get punched in the face and kicked in the face and that part, but also, you know, from a disease. And while sure, they might get checked and this and that, but what if they carry that disease to their grandma or to a young, I mean, a lot of these fighters are in their 20s, you know, some of these fighters are probably on the card have young children, you know, someone that can't fight off a disease, who's not, you know, Leon Edwards or Tyron Woodley's shape. You know, it was just terrible look on the UFC side. And then with Dana White's like, he's so out of sync with the world sometimes when he was saying like, I don't give a F about coronavirus and that. This literally your champion a week ago who just defended the title had to vacate. Listen, Craig, no one cares what you want to say anyways. They had to vacate, had to run away from her country, had to move around like 5 times. And then you're going to pretend like Corona's not a big deal. It's just terrible.
Greg?
I mean, it wasn't a surprise, and I bring this up every time when we criticize Dana White. This is a guy that has a giant painting of a Yakuza member banging his girlfriend in his office, so you kind of know what to expect from him. If you're a fighter, here's your chance. Unionize. You can teleconference. You can use Skype. You can use StreamYard. You can use whatever you want. Unionize. Here's your shot. Do it. In terms of the UFC, it's really greedy. I mean, yeah, I bet you there's a lot of us here that it's going to get, you know, the waters are going to get a little murky, so to speak, over the next couple of weeks. There's not going to be a lot to talk about. But, man, if you're the UFC, like, what are you doing? You're trying to shuffle around all these fights. You're trying to fight on tribal lands in, what was it, Alabama? And when that didn't work out, hey, we're gonna have fights. We're still going to have fights. Don't worry about us. There's a chance that Tony and Khabib's still going to happen. But what country? That's the pick right now. Is it going to happen in Finland? Is it going to happen in some totally random country that, you know, maybe they weren't set up for MMA, but now all of a sudden they're thrust in the spotlight. One of the tweets that really piqued my interest this weekend was actually from Trent Reinsmith, and he said, I wonder if UFC, if some of the push from the UFC is lack of force majeure insurance, which, you know, natural disaster, plague, act of God, you have insurance like that. But it's a weird look for the UFC. You have to wonder what Endeavor's doing behind the scenes, if they're really the ones that are trying to control the strings and make these events happen so they can at least make some money back. But if you're Dana White, you come off as a maniac, and not like in a good way, not like, oh, this guy's an awesome businessman. No, this guy's a tool.
Craig, just sort of follow up, and I'll go back to all you guys with this too. Davidson, can you take your hood off? I have to see it again, please.
The people want it.
Yeah.
Oh.
I can't. It's like a canker sore. Like you shouldn't play with it, but you can't help yourself. This is what Davidson's hair is.
He looks like Gandhi.
So much.
He looks like Gandhi.
What's the best one? Oh, John Franklin said he looks like Benjamin Button.
No, I'm going with Gandhi.
He does seem more esteemed.
He does.
Yes.
He does.
Distinguished. Those are both compliments.
Yeah. I'm comparing you to Gandhi. He's an icon.
Thank you,
man.
Alex, for the quote compliments.
You should thank Keith as well.
There you go, buddy. You're doing great. You got to keep it like this. Everyone's gonna take you much more seriously.
The moment this show ends, it's gone.
That's fine. Just give us the next 45 minutes, and then you can get rid of it. So,
oh my god,
JHK Davidson's become a living peep show. Appreciate that. But Craig, I want to go back to you. How do you think the media in general, from what you've seen, how has the MMA media space handled this situation in terms of the UFC and Bellator and MMA in general?
Great question. Bellator and everybody involved are tuning Scott Coker's horn, which is nice to see because, and it's a weird thing to say, but yeah, everybody's saying Scott Coker, wow, great decision making. He's really handled this quite well. I know Keith had mentioned it from the jump. You know, you were supposed to be covering Bellator 241 before it was canceled just hours before, but you know, ultimately it was probably the right decision. We saw it from Aries FC. We saw it from KSW. They canceled events earlier on, whereas Dana White's just drugged this out. I think the media has been quite critical of the UFC. I've seen a couple of people saying, oh man, Dana White, great decision-making for keeping these cards happening, you know, fighters getting paid, this and that. But it's no. That's all I have for you, Mike. I think it's just ridiculous. I've been pretty upset all weekend. And like I said, I had the chance to go on the Fan 590 on Saturday night with Sportsnet. That never would have happened in my life had UFC only been the only sport happening on Saturday night. Somehow they got a hold of me. That's crazy that even happened. So to say that I didn't benefit from it, I probably did, but it's ridiculous that these cards, the fact that they were trying to make these cards happen. Why? What benefit other than, you know, fighters getting paid, their managers getting paid, their camps and gyms getting paid? What's the sense for our enjoyment?
I feel like Davidson's phone's going to be ringing a lot more after tonight's show. But Keith, what are your thoughts on how the MMA media has reacted to this?
I mean, I think generally it's been negative towards the UFC, and I agree. And I actually agree with what Craig was saying. If anybody had an excuse to actually put on a show, it probably was Bellator and Scott Coker. Think about it. They already weighed in. By the time they canceled the event, I think it was 4 hours before it was going to start. They were in Mohegan Sun on tribal lands. They actually, the commission was going to let it happen. That didn't, they didn't get overruled. And then besides with Scott Coker and all the brass over there, Bellator deciding to cancel it, they still paid the fighters. So to me, kudos for them to do all that. And like I said, if anybody had an excuse to do the show that wouldn't have had big brushback, it probably would have been Bellator. And so good for them. As far as I think Craig also made another great point. While it sucks to see Khabib and Tony get canceled, but if they're going to do it anywhere, I'm kind of liking Finland. How great would that be going on? And so good on Craig to pick a location of Finland. And the other thing about the union, I think we're all probably for a union, but it will never happen until the most powerful players in the UFC all agree to it. Conor McGregor, Israel Adesanya, John Jones, Khabib, those guys. If Leslie Smith, they don't get those guys, the guys who actually hurt the UFC, if they're not on a card, what's the point? You're actually making yourself a bad guy. You're not going to get opportunities. And a union really actually doesn't benefit those top guys. So until those top guys basically take one for the team, which is probably not going to happen, we're never going to have a union.
Alex, and I guess for anybody watching right now, I'd probably have the same question. If we could take your journalism or in media hat off for a moment, let's put more of a fan hat on. What can the media space do better or try to do maybe over these next few weeks to make the situation a little less crappy?
I mean, look, I hope people are ready to see sort of repetitive stories or these kind of samey stories from a lot of the outlets, because obviously what we want to hear is from the fighters and how this situation has affected them. So you're going to be seeing a lot of that. What are fighters doing, now that they don't have their this particular source of income? A lot of fighters have part-time jobs anyway, but some of them are pretty reliant, are pretty dependent on these, those hopefully 3 big UFC paychecks a year they get. And I don't know what state those fighters are going to be in. So that's one thing I think the media could do, is definitely keep these fighters in the keep doing these stories that we would have done on guys like Matt Brown or I don't know, Jair Rosenstruck, Alistair Overeem, guys that have fights coming up that obviously have been postponed or moved and might not even happen. So it's really just a matter of keeping these guys' stories still out there, and I hope that readers are receptive to it, because I like to imagine that for the most part, a lot of readers, I think they get a little tired of, oh, this guy had his best training camp ever, and this guy expects to be a top 5 after they win their fight, whatever. Now you might get some angles, you might get some fresh angles you haven't seen before. again, at least that's what I want to do when I talk to fighters in the next few weeks. I assume that's what a lot of other writers want to do. So hopefully we can do that for the readers, and the readers enjoy that.
Davidson, 2 questions for you. One, what do you think the media can do better and how they handled it? And I guess maybe a third question, can you please take the hood off when you answer this question?
I think the media can handle this more. Okay. I think the media can handle this better in any shape, size, whatever way you want to look at it, by just getting facts out there more so than getting rumor out there. I mean, this is a time where we have to rely on media in not only our space, but every space, and depend on them to get out factual information rather than things they heard from somebody that heard it from somebody that heard it from somebody else. That's really my big thing is, you want to get as much reliable information out as possible that you can without misleading somebody down a path that could, potentially cloud what really is their better judgment during these hard times.
That's it.
I gotta say,
I was hoping you had like 10 more minutes so we could just keep it on you.
No, I don't.
Davidson, can I ask? Were you able to leave the? I know we're all self-isolating. Were you able to leave the house though with that look?
No.
Is there still time? Can you do it tomorrow?
No, I'm getting this cut tonight.
He looks like skinny glasses Hulk Hogan.
This mug of mine will not see the public. It will be on tonight.
Such a waste.
I didn't even hear what Mean Gene Oakland was saying over there.
Keith, be nice.
Davidson looks like George Costanza if he lost 150 pounds.
I will have my revenge.
These pretzels are making me thirsty. Davidson, this is the greatest show in the history of MMA right now. I gotta say,
you're the MVP of the show.
You are. You're the reason anybody's watching right now on this network. I gotta say,
I realize that I have taken. It's hard to look at. It's still hard to look at. Like
the timing is perfect because we really don't have anything to talk about. So like the fact that like if this was another week, we'd have other serious topics to talk about. So that's what's even better about this.
I gotta wash my scalp.
It's tough, man. Especially this time of year. I don't know what it's like in Oklahoma right now, but here it's a little cold and crusty, so you gotta lather it up a little bit and smooth it out. I don't know if you're dealing with the dry scalp right now, Davidson.
Thank you for the advice, Mike.
I'm just trying, buddy. I'm just trying.
Yeah.
But this is good karma. Like I lost my hair because I gave my dad so much crap over the years that he was bald, and I was the only one who did it, and I lost the battle. So maybe this will be good karma for you. You'll have long flowing locks. You'll be like John Stamos into your 50s and 60s.
Yeah, that'd be great. I hope that's true. One can only hope that will come true.
You're banking right now. But let's talk about something that is being sort of overlooked in all of this chaos. Because
he looks like Jeff Van Gundy.
Yes, there it
is. Hey, that's a good one.
It is.
That's the best one.
Yes,
that's the best one.
One. No, Michael Fidel has just joined us and just said, "Oh my God,
he is the best one." I absolutely think so.
That is Jeff Van Gundy. That's amazing. Holy crap!
No, wow. That's a good one, Keith. That had me laughing pretty hard.
That's really good. That's really good. With all this stuff, what's being overlooked in a lot of ways are the performances on Saturday in Brazil. So let's play a little matchmaker game, a game of who's next, if you will, on for some of the big winners on Saturday. Some have sort of hit me up asking my opinion, so I figured we'd save it for the show. Keith, we're going to start with you. Let's start with the main event. Let's start with Charles Oliveira. Huge win for him. He submits Kevin Lee in the third round. That's 7 wins in a row, 7 finishes in a row. People have been saying for a long time that we got to get this guy a step up in competition. He got it. He delivered. He deserves another one. What do you like next for DuBronx?
Sorry. I wish we made Davidson paint himself blue so he could be one of the blue man group guys. So it's really hard because lightweight, for the most part, is pretty booked. I mean, you have Tony versus Habib. I think we all probably think that Connor and Justin's going to get booked. You got Felder and Hooker and Poirier booked. So I would like a rematch against Felder. I think that would make a lot of sense. The first night was fun, but you don't even know if that's fellas only talking about big fights, something that gets him excited. I don't know if he would get excited about fighting a guy that, he's already beaten. So who does that really leave? I mean, Edson Barboza's leaving the division.
Uh-oh.
Oh,
Ally Quinter. I mean, I wasn't prepared for this question, so I didn't have the rankings ahead of me to think. So I was just kind of going off the top of my head. So maybe I'm forgetting somebody, but right now I guess Ally Quinter, which might be a step down from Kevin Lee, even though he has a win over Kevin Lee.
Craig, your thoughts?
Ally Quinto's my guess, but Davidson, take it off. Take it off. Ooh, boy. Yeah, I like
You're
Quinto.
the ratings, Davidson. We need that head to get us through this whole show. Then you can shave it and it's all gone. This will just be a distant memory. We can't hear what you're saying, but you're saying thank you very much.
All people to look in the comments to be a good and respectable sport and all this. Mr. Fidel is the one saying that wearing the hoodie should be illegal. Why don't we have my back, people?
That's the future of this business right here.
What?
That's the future. Shouting
The
you out.
Future of
That's
what?
the future. Michael Videl's the future, man.
He is the future. That's why
Yeah, he wants the head. Listen to him.
I'm just saying I thought we were on my team here, but I guess not.
All right. Craig, go ahead.
Ally Quinto is my guy. Who am I going with here? Ally Quinto, Donald Cerrone's on a losing streak. That's still a fun fight. I don't know. You want to get crazy? You want to get wild? You want to go Brazil against Brazil? Does Carlos Diego Ferreira have a fight booked?
Oh,
I thought he did.
Does he?
I thought he did.
I don't know the
It was a
answer.
good matchup too. I forget.
I
I don't know. I'll have to look it up.
All right, I'll look it up in the meantime.
But let's get to Davidson Baker because he's the man
Drew
everybody
Dober.
wants to see.
Drew
I
Dober.
mean,
Sorry.
that's right, Drew Dober. Drew Dober.
I had to look it up.
Davidson, the man of the hour. Charles Oliveira, he made the bleach blonde hair thing really cool again, and someday you're going to have that option to do so as well. But what should be next for Charles Oliveira in your brainiac opinion right now? You look
Nice
amazing.
use of words. Nice use of words. Fajeda was my answer. I know I had a little bit more time for it to get around to me, but Fajeda and Iaquinta are really the only, names that make sense. Hey there, Larry.
Alex, do you agree with these guys, or do you see somebody else?
Wait, why can't he wait for the Gaethje Hooker winner? There's no reason he can't wait, right?
Does he? I don't know.
Right? Because he himself said that he feels like one.
You said Gaethje, you mean Poirier?
Oh, I'm sorry, Poirier. Yes, Poirier. What's Gaethje? Oh, Gaethje's unbooked, right?
Right.
Yeah, probably against Connor.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, I think he should wait for the Poirier Hooker winner. Because he said he wants top 5 next, or he feels ready for top 5, and he also feels like he's one fight away. So I don't think he's even kind of aiming at the Khabib Tony winner. So I would love to see him fight Poirier Hooker. I think that would be insane. So yeah, I think I think he can afford to be patient. I think that was a huge win. I think when you're on a 7-fight win streak, all finishes. It's a shame more people aren't never call him out. Maybe because he's so dangerous and doesn't have a name. It's like the worst combination of things for a fighter to have, right? But yeah, I would like to see him take on one of those two guys.
JHK coming through with another brilliant comment. Davidson looks like the love child of Beavis and Butthead. That's pretty funny too.
Davidson, you ever watch the Larry Sanders Show? Hey now. So Jeremy Piven was on that show, and in the 90s, he had hair that looked like yours, and now his looks normal.
These people, Craig.
He looks like Dick Vitale. He's awesome, baby.
Davidson is my hero tonight. I gotta say,
I hate all of you.
it's almost over, buddy. It's almost over.
Dr. Phil would work. You could be that.
Dr. Phil, that Kyle Steele with that one. So
Oh,
we
he's
talked
good.
about Oliveira. Let's talk about Gilbert Durinho Burns. I mean, what a resurgence he's had at 170. He's looked fantastic. He looked good in his last couple of fights, 55 too, but he's jumped up to 170. He's just been a machine. He's calling out everybody. He wants to fight like every other week. It's crazy. He goes out and gets a top 5 guy, makes the most of it, finishes Damian Maia in the first round. It was absolutely beautiful. Huge win for Gilbert Burns. He wanted that Woodley fight for Saturday if it was going to happen, but the event got canceled. So, he has to live to fight another day, but he's someone who's getting a lot of love from the fans these days. What do you like for Gilbert Burns, Craig Allen? What makes sense?
Wonder Boy. Make that fight.
Davidson?
Ponzinibbio ever going to be healthy ever again?
Possibly.
I'd like to see that fight.
Alex, what do you like? Do you agree with these two gentlemen, or
No,
do you have there you go.
See, after the win, I feel like he's in the top 5 of my personal rankings that I keep. I think he's in the top 5 now. So I don't want him going backwards because I think it sounds weird, but I do think Thompson is actually below him in the rankings now. I do think Ponzinibbio is below him. I love that Covington call out. I know it's going to take some doing. Covington, he's kind of ran out of that like Brazilian. He's kind of done feuding with the Brazilian stable, as it were, to put it in like, pro wrestling parlance. Like he beat Maia, he beat Dos Anjos. So I guess it almost feels like he wouldn't want to go back over that ground again, especially since Burns is so dangerous. He has so much more knockout power, just finishing power in general, I would say, than Maia or RDA. And I think that's something Covington would take very seriously. But he should consider it because Burns is also is also a more active talker than those two. I don't know if I'd call him a good trash talker, but I could see him stepping up and getting a little more fiery if Covington accepted the fight. So I do think Covington should consider it, especially if, depending what's going on with Woodley and with Usman and Edwards. I'm not sure what's going on with that whole group, but I like Burns Covington. I thought that was a smart call out. I think that's the way to go.
Keith?
I mean, it's going to sound like a terrible answer, but I don't think you can really make a bad fight when you talk about anybody near the top 20 of welterweight. I've been saying it since we've been doing the show that I think it's the best division in MMA, especially in the UFC. I like Ron Howard's answer over there with Ponzinibbio. I don't mind this Thompson fight. I agree. I understand what Alex is saying, where Burns, I agree with him, is probably should be ahead of Thompson in the rankings, but going against a guy who's coming off a fantastic finish, who's got a big, somewhat big name, being the fact that he's fought for the title on 2 different occasions, could have won the title on 2 different occasions. So I don't hate that matchup. Some other guys, maybe you go with 2 hot guys at the same time. You put them against Jeff Neal. I mean, that would be fun. And the other guy is which is to me is kind of like the perfect balance between a name and a hot prospect. Or hot talent, someone who's like peaking right now and has a name, is how about Michael Chiesa? I mean, Michael Chiesa's come up a big win against RDA that I don't think a lot of us saw happening. I mean, I picked, I liked RDA to win that one fairly easily. So give me any of those, man. Burns put himself in such a good position right now that, everything works for me.
Yeah, Burns in a good spot. Chiesa, I think, is in a good spot too, because he can chase guys, and there's going to be guys chasing him too. So it's a really good spot to be in. And Gilbert Burns, big win for him.
If all those people we just named, if I'm Burns, I'm trying to get that Chiesa fight because he's probably highest of those guys in the rankings. He's right up there at name value, but also stylistically, that is such a good stylistic matchup. Because what does Chiesa want to do? He's going to want to take him down and out wrestle him. You're going to try to out wrestle and out grapple a former world champion in BJJ, who's probably faster, definitely has more knockout power. To me, if I'm Burns, I like that Chiesa matchup.
What about Renato Moicano? I mean, he goes out, gets a quick finish in his 55 debut, calls up Paul Felder. Personally, if you want to shoot for the stars, I appreciate that. I think you shot a little too high with that one in reality. But what do you like from Moicano, Davidson? Even if you don't have a name in mind, just position wise, is it a top 15 guy? Somebody outside the top 15? What are you thinking?
Without a doubt, I think he should get a top 15 guy at lightweight. Hadzovic had some success in this weight class before. I mean, the win over Marchenheld was kind of a flash knockout, but he had a couple of other pretty big wins or pretty impressive wins, at least for his caliber of talent at this point in time. At 155 pounds, though, I think Renato Moicano was a little bit healthier. He looked good, even though there wasn't a large sample size to go off of. I would say somebody in the top 15, but as we've said time and time again on this show before, it's lightweight's pretty booked at this time, so I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't quite get that just yet.
Alex, what do you think?
First off, I just Davidson, are you looking at the messages in the chat? Are you looking at all these? Because there's a very nice one. The last one was very nice, and I think anyone can see it. And Michael Fidel said, "In all seriousness, Davidson, you look wonderful."
I see that.
Can't put into words how awesome you are for doing this. He speaks for all of us.
I appreciate it.
Okay, I just want you to know it's not all. There's some hugs and handshakes
going on. Sir.
I'm gonna have a controversial stance on the Moicano thing because obviously he was a top 10 featherweight and he beat a solid guy in Hadzovic. But for me, when you change, unless you've been established for a while, when you change rankings, you kind of, for me, you lose your spot. Like if you're a top 10 guy at featherweight, that doesn't automatically guarantee you're a top 10 guy at say lightweight, unless you beat a top 10, top 15 guy when you make your debut. So Hadzovic, solid guy, but not a big name, not even close to being a top 20 guy. So in my rankings, again, which I'm promoting my rankings, which by the way I have no link to or anything, and also I'm providing no context. He's ranked right now. Moicano, he debuted at lightweight in my rankings at number 43 out of something like 87 or 90s, 87 to 90 something like UFC lightweight. So he can obviously jump up really quickly. I mean, there's a lot of people who ranked above him who I think if I would pick him to beat them in a fight, but I also think they have resumes at 155, and I don't think it's fair for him to go above them. So there's a lot of intriguing matchups. I like, I think Arman Sarukian would be a fun one. There's just really so many names. Maybe a Stevie Ray if you want to go close to the top 20. But no, I don't think it's fair. I don't think it's fair to give him a top 15. I know he was established at 145. We all know he has the skills to be a top 15 lightweight. He looked awesome, but no, I would like to see him earn. I want to see one more in like the mid, maybe 25 to 35 range, whatever, if the UFC even keeps track of that. And then we'll talk top 15, top 10.
Craig, what do you got, buddy?
Keith might not like this, and I think I might have used this song last week. I can't remember, but I'm going to disagree with Alexander K. Lee in my rankings with the hardcore rank over on Twitter. I put Mr. Renato Moicano number 14. 15, I had Trinaldo. 13 is the guy that I want to see him fight. She's got electric boots, a mohair suit. I read it in a magazine. Oh ho, Benny and the Jets make the fight with Beneil Dariush. That's a fun fight. I want Beneil Dariush. I like that.
Oh man, Keith, what do you think? It's nice to see Moicano get back to his winning ways. He's in a new weight class. What do you want to see next for him?
Yeah, I was distracted. Who did the young Pope Francis pick? Who did you say? That would be you, Davidson.
Who did the young Pope Francis pick for what? I'm sorry. If you could see
who would you say?
I'm laughing at myself getting grilled in my actual group chats with friends I went to high school with.
Yeah, who did you?
They brought wind to this, and I'm getting blasted.
No, did you pick someone? I honestly, I was looking up. I was looking up famous bald people. So,
yeah. Hey, would you guys like to hear a couple of messages of?
Is that a hard question? Who did you pick?
Which question are we talking about? The
Moicano.
I said I didn't pick someone in particular. I said it would just be a matter of getting someone in the top 15 or not getting someone in the top 15.
Yeah,
Davidson,
right.
I can't hear you with your hood on.
I'm sorry, man. I can't even take this show. I'm gonna have a really crappy answer again. To me, there's like 3 tiers, like how high you want to go with them, and I'm okay with anything. As I just said at welterweight, it's kind of the same situation at lightweight. It's hard to make a bad matchup at lightweight. Now, if you want to go with the attitude that Alex is against, that you jump over your ranks, you should come back and face a rank guy. Well, if we want to shoot high, how about Kevin Lee? Kevin Lee's coming off a loss. He's lost a couple times recently. You want to throw him that high. If you want to go where he probably deserves to go against, I think Craig hit it perfect with Beneil Dariush. That's actually the name I wrote down. And then if you want to do the Alex route, like kind of work your way up. I mean, he was on a 2-fight losing streak. He beat Hadzovic. It's not like a guy that was anywhere near the rankings. So if you feel like he should just kind of take a guy who's also kind of on the same trajectory as he is towards the rankings, you can go with like a Scott Holtzman. So it's really how you view him coming in. To like not stand on the fence with those 3 positions. I'm going to go with Craig. I like the idea of him versus Beneil Dariush.
Who? Beneil Dariush?
Beneil Dariush. Dude, I'm all screwed up, man.
I got confused too because I keep thinking of young Billy Zane over there.
I'm just looking up freaking famous ball people to compare Davidson to.
Davidson, did you want to share one of those high school friend messages? I think you were offering and we cut you off.
Yeah, you got to take the hood off, though. Come on. You got like 15 minutes left, maybe 20.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
This is the best day of my life.
This is unbelievable. Let's see what we got.
He looks like the bad guy from the Smurfs.
Way to go, Gargamel.
Here we go.
There
We have, quote, I always wanted that cut right before picture day in high school. There's one. Quote,
That's nice.
if you're going to go all out senior day, I feel like you should get some ball caps. Like, you know how they call it, like old people call hats ball caps? Like they call them ball.
Who quotes are these?
These are his friends.
This is my group chat.
Are your friends also 75?
Yeah, the only thing lamer than Dave's hairstyles is friends' comments. Come on.
Now, not a lot of people
No,
have
we gave them a
in
chance.
yet. They're just like all like LOL.
Sitting on your desk, do you have like a glass or crystal jar full of like stale jelly beans?
I feel like that's coming soon.
Did you eat dinner at 4 o'clock?
3 o'clock.
That's right. The early bird. You got to get that early seating, man.
Yeah, right.
Last one on the winning end, Amanda Ribas, because she's got something, man, in my opinion. She can fight. She's got this huge, bubbly, positive personality, but she's a killer in the cage. Alex, what do you like for Amanda Ribas coming off that win over Randa Marcos?
Man, hold on, am I muted? Oh, there, sorry. Man, she's got to let go of this Paige Van Zandt thing. I mean, I don't blame her. It's a fight people would watch. It's still one of the biggest names in her division. So, again, I'm not going to falter for that call out. It's fine. Like I said, I'm sure people would want to see it. Though that said, I think PVZ is done at strawweight. So again, I'm not sure what's going on with that call out. So that might seem like a fun one. If we're just talking competitively, Yan Xiaonan would be really good. That's putting two strong competitors against one another. I don't know if that's enough of a name for Ribas at this point, but I do like that one. And higher than that, I don't know. You're looking at like maybe a Tatiana Suarez or a Gadelia. I don't think she's ready for that yet. So I think Yan Xiaonan would be my choice.
Keith.
Yeah, I didn't have a name prepared. Like we didn't have the questions this week. I agree with Alex. I don't understand the Paige Van Zandt call out. She's already beaten two girls better than Paige Van Zandt. Paige Van Zandt is a name value, but she's not a name value on talent. Like I don't know if there's anybody still looking at her as they did when she was walking into the Rose Namajunas fight, where she came in as a favorite against Rose Namajunas. Yeah, I don't see anybody who's thinking of her as like a future title challenger or top 5 person. But yeah, Ribas is. I mean, she's young. She's good looking. She's good on the mic, and she has crazy talent. I mean, this early in your career, take out a girl like Ronda Marcos, who's not that good, but she doesn't lose to like low level. She only loses to the highest one. She's the perfect test for someone like, and she passed it with flying colors. I mean, she beat her up better than some of the top girls in the division have. Who should she fight next? The first fight I thought of was like the Tisha Torres, Mizuki Inoue winner. That might even be too low for her. Maybe Michelle Waterson. Like maybe that fight would make sense. But she definitely should get someone who's at least near the top 15 or in the lower half of the top 15.
Greg Allen, what do you got, buddy?
It's a tough one. I like Keith's pick because the first thing that came to my mind was the winner of Carlos Esparza and Michelle Waterson. Granted that it happens because it was booked for that April 11th card. Apart from that, like I'm looking at the rankings from Hardcore Rank, and I'd get Brianna Van Buren ranked under her. I think that would be a fun fight, but we haven't seen Brianna Van Buren since last summer, so I doubt that they give her or they give each other that fight. Like I don't think the UFC would book that, but I think it'd be fun. Apart from that, yeah, you don't want to rush her too quick. And for some reason, the UFC on their rankings, and I know it probably hasn't been updated yet, but they have Felice Herrig ranked 12th. So make that fight. Make a fight against Felice Herrig. That's the fight that nobody was looking for except for young / old / I don't want to get bald John Travolta over there.
Davidson?
I too am looking at the rankings as well, and I'm trying to find a gauge for it. I mean, I like the Yan Xiaonan fight, and yeah, I'll give the people what they want if I'm going to answer this question. I do like the Xiaonan fight. I like the Carlos Esparza fight as well. Brianna Van Buren. Van Buren and Xiaonan seem the most likely to me. I don't know if I'd do the whole like kill off 2 potential contenders thing, but at the end of the day, I mean, you're going to go down that route if you make the matchup between either of those girls. My guess would be Xiaonan, though. I kind of like that matchup.
What about Angela Hill?
That makes sense potentially. Well, yeah,
like that, Craig?
No, don't do that.
Why not?
Angela Hill was on Joe Rogan Experience. Angela Hill beat the Muay Thai fighter at Muay Thai. Don't book that fight. You don't want to kill the star of Amanda Hebus, putting her up against somebody that has that much shine right now.
I think she beats Angela Hill.
Me too. I think she beats her as well.
Alex, your thoughts on Angela Hill? Yay or nay?
Man, I hadn't thought about it from the perspective of like, should we be trying to protect Hebus? I actually wasn't even thinking about that at all because they're both on 3 fight. I mean, Hebus is 3-0. Angela Hill's on a 3-fight win streak. So technically they're both on 3-fight UFC win streaks. So when you brought it up, it actually made a lot of sense. But yes, if you are looking to, if the company does see Hebus as a future star, putting her in there with Angela Hill is very dangerous. Though I still think Hill has a lot of potential to be a star as well. I know people are like, oh, she's fought like 15 times the UFC already. So she doesn't seem like a fresh face, but she's actually only been with the company for maybe 3 years now. She just fights a lot. But she's got a great personality. She's very active on social media. So she has a following. So I don't like to look at it as, oh, if she beat Hebus, you'd be killing one star. You could be, again, boosting another star who's kind of finally, I think, starting to come into her own. So, again, there's me looking at the bright side of the matchup again on both ways. So I don't mind that at all, actually.
It'd be an interesting fight, and I kind of didn't look at it as Angela Hill's fought so many times at this point in such a quick amount of time. But to a lot of the newer fans, they have no idea who Angela Hill is right now. So it's still kind of a fresh face. It's not like Paige or Watterson or some of the bigger names at that weight class. But on the other end, Davidson, I just can't when I think about my broadcasting career and things that happen that I grew from, this particular episode is going to be one of those things. The fact that I haven't just burst out laughing every 5 seconds is just amazing. I'm holding back tears pretty much for the last 51
I admire
minutes.
you. I admire you, Mike, a lot.
Welcome to the club. But on the other end, we have Kevin Lee. He actually said he's going to take a lot of time to reflect, even going as far as saying he might take a few years to do so. And, I guess we'll kind of wait to see how he feels later on in the year. Sometimes you just say things spur of the moment. You're very emotional after a fight. You say things and, 2 weeks later, you change your mind. Paul Felder did the same thing. But Damian Maia loses to Gilbert Burns. He says to the media after the fight, he's got 1 fight left. And he had 2 names in mind, Diego Sanchez and Donald Cowboy Cerrone. Keith, do you like either of those? And if so, which one sticks up more? If not, what do you like better?
Yeah, actually, I like both matchups. I feel like certain athletes, when they're on their way out, deserve what they want as long as it makes somewhat sense. Like I was having this conversation, not to go way off, but I was talking about the Patriots and the cap hit with Tom Brady. And I'm like, if the Patriots are ever going to be sentimental, you be sentimental with Tom Brady. He deserves it. And I kind of feel the same way about Damian Maia. Like Damian Maia wants a fight. He wants a fight in Brazil. He wants a name that makes sense somewhere in rankings. I'm okay with either one. For him, I like the stylistic matchup of Diego Sanchez. I think that's an easy win for him. I think he's a guy that kind of deserves to get an easy win on his way out the door. This guy who's, always showed up. He's never missed weights, never got in trouble. Just ultimate professional, just a good guy in the sport, so yeah, I mean, let's do him against Diego Sanchez. They've been wanting that fight for a while. Yeah. And there's no way Damian Maia doesn't win that fight. So yeah.
John Franklin, Davidson looks like he gives savings bonds as birthday presents. That's a hilarious comment. Craig, what do you think? Do you like Cerrone, Maia, or do you like somebody else? Or not
he's
Maia.
He's like the grandparent that mails out a check and then calls a couple weeks later to say, hey, I hope you didn't cash that check. You still got to wait a couple more weeks. I think Diego Sanchez makes sense. I mean, after Damian Maia beat Ben Askren, he called out Diego Sanchez. And he said, I have 2 fights left on my contract. Well, he burned 1. Diego Sanchez is the last one you retire beating. Arguably one of the most hardcore fighters of all time from the earliest of seasons of The Ultimate Fighter, and one of the best coaches of all time in Josh Fabius. So you can really put those above your mantelpieces. I beat the guy that pushed a guy around with 1 finger. I beat that guy, that coach.
And imagine the stare downs. Imagine Damian Maia without a care in the world, and Diego foaming from the mouth, eyes bulging out. That's just worth it just to make that matchup for that.
Imagine all the people living for today. I know that's how Davidson feels over there. Nice glasses.
Well, that's one of the things I thought about with the potential Maia Sanchez matchup, because everyone who fights Damian Maia, it's all about respect. He's a legend, all that stuff. Like Gilbert Burns had some things to say, but in the end, like he looked up to Damian Maia. He had a lot of respect for Damian, and he almost like felt bad hurting him and finishing him the way they did. So, Alex, do you think if they booked a Damian Maia versus Diego Sanchez fight, do you think maybe Damian can tone down the Sanchez weirdness, or do you think he'll be weirder and stranger and more bizarre than ever?
I actually think it would tone him down. I think. I mean, it's hard now with the X factor of Fabia. Gosh, this Fabia guy, we don't know what he's putting in Diego's already clustered dome. You know, that head has been a tempest of activity for Diego's entire career. So now you add in this other element, this other chaotic element. Boy, I don't know. I do think he would respect Maia a lot. I can't imagine him getting in Maia's face and like trying to intimidate him. That would be bizarre. If I can deviate from the question a bit, Mike, though, I will say I want to think outside the box from the Sanchez Cerrone question, because I'm a sick man, and there's two options I couldn't stop thinking about for some reason. I know that this was kind of viewed as a passing the torch thing already, with Gilbert Burns being a really good BJJ guy, but he's not really like Maia. He's also he's got some good striking, right? So the two guys now who I would love to see to pass the BJJ torch, Maia return to 185, maybe fight Rodolfo Vieira. That guy is nothing but grappling. If anyone's seen him, he's 2-0 now. He's nothing but grappling. I wonder if he's grappled Maia before. I can't remember. But I would love to see that battle on the ground. And then the really sick part of me, Ryan Hall, after he's done with his 30-second submission of Ricardo Lamas, go up to 170 and take out another legend like he did BJ Penn. I would kill to see Ryan Hall and Damian Maia in some capacity.
Casey Leiden, if he's watching this somewhere, is very happy that you just said that. Davidson, I don't know if you're on your phone or doing crossword puzzles right now, but what do you think in terms of Damian Maia's retirement fight? Do you like the Cerrone/Sanchez idea, or are you crazy like Alex? Are you thinking outside of the box here?
Ryan Hall is like, that's the crown jewel, I feel, but I highly doubt that ever comes to fruition, unfortunately. But that would be like the crown jewel of things that you would want to see. For me, Sanchez, and yes, I do think Diego Sanchez is crazy enough to get in Maia's face and try to intimidate him. Why? Because he's Diego Sanchez, and that just seems to me like something that would happen. I think, given the trajectory that both of those guys are on, I feel like that's the one that potentially makes the most sense in the first place. And no, John, I do not handwrite my taxes.
What I love is that suddenly everyone's blaming Diego for being crazy on his new coach. Like, have we not been paying attention to Diego for the last 15 years? Like,
yeah.
People act like he was like Daniel Cormier's personality, and now he's this nut job. It's like,
so bizarre.
I keep looking at Davidson, and I just got like James Taylor song stuck in my head.
Yeah, are we almost done yet?
Do you see fire?
Don't you rush me.
Hey, Mike, we almost done yet?
Are you trying to rush out of here, Davidson?
I am.
We're about to wrap things up.
Sweet dreams and flying machines.
He's got to go catch a Smurf.
Hold on. Michael Fidel
he's got to get up and he's got to make the donuts in the morning.
Hold on. All right. We'll wrap this up. Michael Fidel, don't believe Maia and Vieira have grappled. The plus side is Hall Maia is entirely viable at Submission Underground or Polaris or something. So
Thank you, Michael.
You could still see it. But UFC Brasilia is in the books. We got Cage Warriors 113 coming up on Saturday for some reason. For the UFC, possibly April 18th, but we'll see what happens there. But we're going to wrap things up. But before we say goodbye, I want to give each of these guys an opportunity to give their parting shot, if you will, sort of the winner's spoils typically given on the show to talk about anything you want to talk about, whether it be MMA, sports, what's going on in the world right now, whatever you want to talk about. And, Chicken Parm Dave's favorite panelist, Keith Schill, and we'll start with you. When you unmute.
Sorry. I was trying to message you personally, a private message. Dude, we've had some great moments, and just a little background of the show. It's going to be hard filling the show for the next couple of weeks, being that the MMA world is who knows what's going to happen for. Could be 3 weeks, could be 3 months. Who knows? It's going to be really hard. That said, this is one of the greatest shows we've ever had. So there's a reason why we've had Davidson on for 50-something weeks in a row, or how many it is, and here is the reason why. So yeah, congratulations to him.
Craig, what do you want to say? Do you have an 80s song you want to sing, or anything else? Anything you want to get off your chest here, man? The floor is yours, my man.
Superman never made any money saving the world from Solomon Grundy. Alexander K. Lee, hopefully you're a big Crash Test Dummies fan. That's one of my favorite Canadian bands. That's a 90s reference. But apart from that, stay safe. Don't buy too much hand sanitizer so other people can't get it like that guy did in wherever, Alabama. Don't be that guy. But yeah, just stay safe. I know, Davidson, you've got some concerns in your neck of the woods and a UFC card that's been canceled. But yeah, stay safe.
Alex, Mr. Positivity, glad you were back once again. What would you like to say here?
First of all, obviously, a big thanks to Davidson. By the way, this side shot we're all getting. No, don't look. Oh, I was gonna say this. The profile shot. There it is. Oh, that is a hell of a shot right there. So thank you, Davidson, of being an amazing sport. Again, the star of today's show, unquestionably. The only thing I'll say is, I hope people. You asked me about the media earlier, Mike, and I was glad you did, because I hope people kind of understand all the different perspectives that might be coming from us, and sometimes differing perspectives from the same authors, even like my boy Mike Chiappetta, MMA Fighting, he wrote this very nice piece, not very nice to the UFC and Dana White, but being very critical of sort of how they'd handle the situation. This was on Friday, before Brasilia, before Dana White's insistence that the events would go through, before we found out they're not today or yesterday. And you got to understand, he's also going to watch the fight still. In the media, we really don't get to choose what we cover. So yes, if it seems confusing at times, like, oh, why are we tweeting one thing about how we don't approve of the UFC's tactics, but then we're also talking about all these upcoming fights, or fights that, talking to fighters and promoting the UFC, upcoming UFC events. It's just the job. It's part of the job. And again, people are nuanced. I think you got to understand, people, just in general are going to have different opinions on things. I said the Cage Warriors thing was cool, that they were taking the UFC fights. Do I think it's good that the event is going through? Probably not. It's probably not a good decision. But just looking at the idea of like this kind of almost like cross promotion, a year from now, if this opens up the door for that sort of thing a year from now, then that's the aspect I found cool. So I'm just telling people, be open-minded with what you read, be open-minded with each other, and when you're having discussions online, especially regarding this stuff with all the virus and events, and just I think, as everyone is saying, be good to each other, be respectful during this what's going to be a really, really difficult time for a lot of people.
Well said. And we got to turn our attention to the legendary Davidson Baker, our superstar. First of all, Davidson, kudos to you, man. I know we were giving you some grief, and some of the commenters were giving you crap, and your high school friends were saying things that I don't even understand at this point. But you made a promise, you stuck to it, and this is amazing stuff. I think your career is going to take a whole new trajectory right now. I think you're going to be on radio shows. This could be the beginning of superstardom for you, sir. But I'd like to give the floor to you. What would you like to say, about MMA, about the world, and about what you accomplished here tonight? Because it's incredible.
I don't know if I would take it that far. I think that I appreciate the kind words. However, yes, looking at my mug right now is a bit troubling. Regardless, I don't know if I'm ready to be taken. I don't know if I'm ready to take bald to a new level. Should I give it a chance? No, I'm just kidding. No, it's not happening. But and now I'm filling out life insurance according to John. Regardless,
you can fill out car insurance. You can fill out car insurance and do that with those commercials. We know a thing because we've seen a thing with that.
We know a thing or two because we've seen a thing.
Yeah, you look like that guy.
Yeah, that guy. For me, it's more so like we have to remain vigilant as a society. As far as the world is concerned, this is a very serious issue, and I know a lot of people are kind of maybe even brushing it off, like a lot of the younger population. If you consider yourself part of that sample size, please don't. This is a very serious problem. It's tough to stomach, to be honest with you, and something that I've kind of looked into a lot recently, and it's scary times, at least now in the world.
It's hard to listen to him say that, with that head being like all serious. All right, Matt Lidland.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing. A+, Davidson, A+.
Thank you.
For me, first of all, I got a shout out to, the first responders, those working in the healthcare industry. My proverbial hat goes off to all of you. I mean, here in Massachusetts, I was actually DJing a restaurant's like employee appreciation party, and the manager gave like a big speech about, we're going to do whatever we can to stay open. And 30 minutes later, Charlie Baker drops the bombshell that they're all out of work. And it's a really tough situation with those working in the hospitality industry. A lot of people are without work, without making money. And, hopefully something gets put into place where these people can make money. And my heart goes out to all of you and, and everybody who's out of work until this all goes away. And for me, I can't reveal all, but I do want to make a quick announcement. Some of the panel members are aware of this. Some are not aware of this. But tonight, this episode of Between the Links is actually going to be my last episode as the host of the show. I have had an absolute blast being a part of the show for 44 episodes. I believe this has become the best panel show in MMA. And also, and we've talked about this before, a proving ground of sorts, and one I'm glad I was a host of. And honestly, a lot of different times, I'm so glad I was not a panelist on the show because it's crazy. Keith, Craig, Davidson, phenomenal as regular panelists. You guys all brought something great to the table, something different and unique to the table. I'll be honest, every time Davidson won, I got some goosebumps. I was very excited for that. And I hope Davidson wins every week as long as he brings that haircut with him. John Franklin, Kyle Steele, always great filling in. And then for all the media members and the special guests like Alex K. Lee, I think Alex has come on probably more than anybody at this point, who've come on and jumped into this chaos. It's not easy to do. I appreciate everybody who's taken their time and just hung out with like all of this big group of misfits we've created here at the Loudmouth MMA Podcast Network. As far as to why this is going to be my last show, I cannot say as of yet, but I believe all is going to be revealed early next week. So there you have it. With that, I want you to remind, or at least subscribe to this page as you're watching right now. How can you not? You can go back and watch Davidson for an hour and 7 minutes plus. This is phenomenal. Make sure you subscribe to the Loudmouth MMA Podcast Network, wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts, whether it's Apple Podcast, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Spotify, wherever it is. Make sure you do that. There's just so many great shows on this network, and these guys just bust their ass, and they do an incredible job giving you something different each and every week on this. So I can't say enough great things about it. So that's what I have to say.
So let's say this before we go. So Mike told me a couple weeks ago, I'm really torn about this because you can't replace Mike. It's plain and simple, you can't replace him. But I'm super happy for him, and I think everyone's happy for him. And I'm not going to say, but when he reveals, everyone's going to be extremely happy for him. On to bigger and better things. The show won't be the same without him, and we'll miss him.
Well, I appreciate that. That's probably the nicest thing you've ever said to me, Keith. And you've said some amazing things to me on this show. We'll have to go back to a best of Keith attacking me and calling me the worst judge since whoever. But that's going to do it. Davidson, one more time, buddy. Please. Please. Look up.
Gorgeous. Gorgeous.
Unreal. That's going to do it, everybody. For Alex, Keith, Craig, and Davidson for the last time, I am Mike Heck. Thank you for joining us once again. Between the Links. And one more. John Franklin. Davidson listens to his podcast on a Discman. We'll leave it at that. Thank you, everybody. Oh, it's that awkward part.